I'm hoping that Leah, hashtag shocks the nation here, pulls off like some crazy move and is able to find herself at the end, because if they can't look beyond their like personal feelings towards her inclusion in the game, I think that she is someone who could slip through the cracks and has the skills to survive. I think that there is a line drawn in the sand, whether people want to accept it or not. Shots are going to be taken, and I'm hoping that it's not at Leah.
Welcome to the Secret Alliance podcast. We're diving in and talking about the game of Big Brother. And of course, the people who play it are here, like BB23's Hannah Chaddha and this guy, BB3's Jason Guy. We're chatting about what's going on in the BB26 house with some spoilers. And let me be clear, lots of confusion from us about the twists and turns in the game this week. Lots of confusion. We were trying to figure it out from the feeds just like you. So have a good laugh about us being clueless. We're also hearing from the season's first jury member, Quinn Martin.
This feels like a win-win, or a Quinn for those of you watching at home,
Quinn, a 25-year-old nurse recruiter from Lawton, Oklahoma, who currently calls Omaha, Nebraska home, is now in the jury house. Just so you know, we submit questions from these evicted house guests to the Big Brother PR team. They send us the pool of video responses that we share here. We don't interview the house guests directly since they're sequestered as part of the BB26 jury. You can read all the questions for Quinn in the description, including which ones were from the Secret Alliance.
Hannah's talking about meeting some of those pre-jury members. Hannah, this is so cool. How did this happen?
I know. Okay, well, Azza from my season, she throws these events called house chops. If you guys live in New York, LA, Chicago, those are typically the cities where she hosts. So you should definitely check it out. Follow her on Instagram to keep up. But I ended up going and I got to meet 3 people from BB26's pre-jury. I got to meet Kenny, Matt, and Tucker. And they're all so lovely, so sweet. I'm trying to think if I have like any tea or just general impressions that I can give you. Kenny was like nice, respectful. He was very in and out. I think he flew in for the event, flew back out the next morning. So I didn't spend a ton of time with him. Matt, sweetheart, taller in person.
Okay.
So that's like the only shocking thing
but
I
did
have
you
about
ask
Matt.
him?
Yeah.
Did you talk to Matt about Mackenzie and a little cuddling, canoodling that's happening in the house with Cam?
No, I actually did not. Just because there were so many fans there, first of all.
Oh, yeah. So it's hard
I didn't
to
want to
get a lot of time.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't want to, expose him or make him feel like I was putting him on the spot. I also mostly just like went so I could, yes, meet them, get my pictures with them. But I also wanted to make sure that like mentally and emotionally they're doing okay. And I let them know, please reach out to me if you need anything at all. I feel like the alum are really wonderful at like being willing to hold the current house guests' hands as they transition back into the real world, while also coming to terms with the fact that like your life will just never look the same, because we've all gone through this incredibly unique and borderline traumatic experience. And so you need help. And so I just went to be like a pillar of support. I didn't really ask him anything about the game. Even with Tucker, I didn't really ask him about the game. I was just asking them like, how's your mom? How are the siblings? How's life? Where are you thinking about moving to? What did you eat for breakfast this morning? Have you eaten dinner tonight? Like, so that was just kind of my role. But
that's
again,
awesome.
Matt, very respectful. And I feel like he came across that way on the show, just like well-mannered, polite, typical Southern gentleman. And then with Tucker, I was so excited to meet him, Jason. So excited. I don't know if I have stanned a man more than I have stanned Tucker since Joseph from BB24.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I remember being like so excited to meet Joseph. And then now Joseph is just like a near and dear friend to me. And then I was so excited to meet Tucker. So the first thing I did when I went up to him was I was like, oh my God, because I didn't tell anyone that I was coming. And people were like, wait, Chaddha, you're here? Like, don't you live in DC? And I was like, don't even worry about how I got here. Just know that I'm here. And then Tucker was like, wait, Hannah, you're here? And I was like, yeah. And then I like went to shake his hands because I was so excited. And I didn't realize that he had like a little shot glass in his hands. So the whatever was in it went
Knocked his
flying
drink over.
everywhere. Yeah. And then it got all over me. So then I smelled like alcohol for the rest of the night and I wasn't even drinking. So it was just a bit of a mess.
The stories that fans are going to tell, they're like, we met Hannah Chaddha.
Yeah.
And you're not going to believe
what she smells like. I know. But yeah,
you know, we should have had you ask about the makeup that he was wearing when we interviewed him.
Oh,
we
yeah.
just wanted to get into our questions, but so many people, when they watched our interview, they said,
yeah,
what's the deal? And I believe it to mean that he got beat up by the game, the challenge that sent him out in the AI arena. I think he was making a little fun statement, but yeah, I guess I really missed asking the big question that was looming there. Like, what's the get up?
What was that?
We'll have a chance.
I do have the tea on that.
A chance. Yeah. At some point
it was
down
fake
the
blood.
line. Yeah.
It was fake blood. Yeah.
Right. But it was to signify that the game beat him up, or the last challenge. Yeah. Where he had always taken down the AI arena. That puzzle got him. Well, that is so cool. Thanks for sharing that and giving us a little insight. And I'm glad everybody seems to be doing well right now and enjoying the season while it's still on the air.
Yeah.
And this is a fun thing. Yeah, it's a bummer that they're not in the house, but they get to watch it play out.
Yeah, they're still very much a part of it. And it didn't seem like any of them were bitter to be out of the house. They just seemed like they were enjoying themselves. Like they're still enjoying this experience because, like you said, they're still very much a part of it. And like, it was cool and fun to be able to observe like Matt and Tucker and Kenny like being bombarded by all of these fans, taking pictures, asking or answering questions from them. I was like, oh, our new little celebrities. So yeah. It was fun. It was cool for me to observe, and then I was just like trying to make sure that people were eating, people had water.
That's good. You were very mom in that room there. Yeah. Is everybody okay? Good. And you're right. This is an experience that only past house guests really understand, and we can help them along in this process because there's a lot that comes at them when they step out. Our first jury member is Quinn, and we're not going to see him until finale night. He's also not going to even see Julie until finale night.
Jason,
super fan. Missing out on Julie.
Right. Okay. But in which we'll get into this, but he says he almost sees it as like a Quinn. That's what he called it. Instead of a win-win.
A win-win. A Quinn, which I like.
Yeah, I like that too. He should trademark it. But he got to meet Jerry O'Connell on his eviction, and he's going to get to meet Julie on finale night, pending like she's fine and healthy, which there's no reason why she wouldn't be. So he gets to meet both. That's pretty cool. And
in the exit interview, as we're going to share all of this with you, he talks about that he and Julie are going to become besties.
No, that's impossible. I've already fulfilled that position. I do, in fact, call her bestie, and she responds to me, and she calls me bestie as well.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I think I might just have to claim that title.
I don't think anybody's stepping in there. No offense, Quinn. But you got Jerry O'Connell. You get to meet Julie. That's your Quinn.
Yes. Nothing more.
Let's talk about Quinn in the game and some moves, mistakes, and what led up to his eviction from the BB26 house and him becoming our first jury member.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think about that week and how it all went down?
Quinn's game was a bit bizarre. And I only say this because it seemed like he had such a hold on the house. He was, ingrained in all of these power structures. There wasn't a single conversation being had that didn't involve him in some way, shape, or form. And yet when it came time for him to wield power, he had that deep fake HOH. One of his closest allies in the Pentagon, Cedric, ended up going home. And then he had power again, and someone who he was closely aligned with, Joseph, ends up going home. And so it's almost like, how can you be such a power player? How can you be so implemented and incorporated in the social structure of this house? And yet, when it comes time for you to make a decision, you do so in a way that's so just like detrimental and counterintuitive to your game. So Quinn as a player confuses me because in some regards, he was, I think, like strategically and socially, one of the most apt players that we saw this season. Yet he also had like two of the worst HOHs besides T-Core's HOH. So for me, at least, it was almost inevitable that he was going to go home soon because he was just losing that control and he was kind of floundering. And he was losing his currency in that house, his weight, his word. And yeah, so I sort of saw it as like a matter of time. I figured he would either be the first or the second jury member. But Jason, what did you think?
Yeah, I liked him as a player. I was rooting for him early on, but I did think there were several times when he had power or he could have done something, and it flopped as far as pushing his game forward. And too many alliances I always see with players, it will be your downfall. You need, you can make some side things that are a little fake, but I don't know where his real loyalty was when I was watching him in that game. I would always try to figure out, so who is he really loyal to other than Leah? Who is, and even the Leah relationship was more of, I think he was interested in something showmance than let's win this game together. And that gets you off track. And that's why I think you always talk about showmances derailed games.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the only two times we've seen a showmance make it to the end and be successful, at least in modern Big Brother, is Jackson and Holly in season 21 and Monty and Taylor in season 24, if I'm not mistaken. So like more often than not, you end up going home at the hands of kind of losing focus. And maybe that's part of also what like kind of led to Quinn's downfall and him losing that hold and that grip he had on the house.
I also thought it was interesting that, again, another guy is out of the BB26 house, and we may discuss a little bit about where things stand currently, but it is interesting to see week after week after week how this house is shaping up to be all of the women in there. And this could be another season where a woman takes the crown. I mean, both first and second place may go to women.
Just statistically speaking, it would be really hard for me to imagine a man winning this season because right now we're at 6 and 2.
Yeah, we have
6
Cam
and 2 and Chemo.
And Chemo, yeah. I was like, and Chemo, I like him. He's funny on the feeds. There's a lot of, like, he's doing impersonations and he's keeping us going. But I worry for his game that people go, he's too likable. If we let him keep going in this game, he's out. And I know he has T-Core and Rubina helping to protect him. But this week, there's a big shift for that group of 3. And somebody, I believe, spoiler alert, I believe somebody's going home from the group of T-Core, Rubina, and Chemo. And I have to think that it's going to be Chemo first. Maybe I'm wrong, but T-Core would be, I think, second there, and then Rubina. I don't know in the last, say, 24 hours what the discussion is and how things have gone. Since veto, I know who won it, but I don't know what has happened there. So let's save that I think till the end here, because it's getting good though.
Oh, for sure.
And while I do enjoy this group of 3, and I really like the T-Core, Rubina, and Chemo alliance because they are really solid. I think it's about to get busted up. I don't know that there's any path forward for it to not. Am I wrong in that?
No, I think you're absolutely right. And I think from Leah's perspective, that makes sense. Honestly, from anyone's perspective, because if they were to let all 3 of them slide into next week when they're only down to 7 people, they control every single vote unless you put two of them on the block next to each other. But like, even still, if one of them makes it to final two, that's two guaranteed votes for them to win this game. And then they only need two more. That would be very intimidating for me as a player.
That's what other players need to think about right now.
Yeah.
If they want to win.
Exactly. So if I were them,
tell everybody.
If I were them, I think there's a case for getting rid of Chemo, Rubina, or T-Core. Rubina proved herself in the AI arena. That sent Joseph home a couple weeks ago. So she has that fight in her. Chemo is just so darn likable. It's almost like if you don't get him out now, when will you get him out? I also feel like his final two speech would have that persuasion power to win him the game. I mean, we saw Mackenzie kind of like change her mind based on Chemo's speech. So I think his words would be powerful. I would be scared of sitting next to him in a final two. And then with T-Core, she's kind of like the ringleader of that threesome. She's the only one who's held tangible power. She was HOH when she got Tucker out. She's capable of winning competitions. She's never sat on the block. So at the very least, if I were Leah, I would put her on the block so she no longer has that case to make if she were to find herself in final two. And Leah also has never been on the block. So if I'm Leah, I'm thinking like, I want to be the only one who has that argument.
That makes a stronger game for Leah if she's makes it to the final two and says, I've never been nominated. You're right. That is a big argument for her resume. It builds the resume for Leah, because right now, I do think there are some other players in the house with much larger resumes, like
Chelsea,
Mackenzie, and some of the other ladies there. I mean, and Angela's got quite a resume, just that she has survived the block so many times. She is a dangerous person who, if you put her into the end, I mean, and I did not think this week 1, week 2, after all the chaos from her HOH and the subsequent week or so, that she could make it this far. I thought she was going to be pre-jury. So I'm still shocked. Made all the wrong calls. I'm going to own it. And then I go, Angela could potentially win this game. And I'm still like mind blown.
I mean, she has such a, like, if final two were to happen tomorrow, she has such a strong case to win. 2 HOHs. We'll discuss the fact that she won one of the vetoes that's in play this upcoming week. So there's that. She's been saved 3 times by the power of veto. She's broken a record in terms of like other Big Brother players using the veto on you, including when Tucker was on the block.
Right, that is a very strong argument for your social game.
Yeah, the fact that she's been in this house for 9 weeks and she's had guaranteed safety for 7 weeks, I want to say. Or I guess now they're going on 10 weeks, but she's had guaranteed safety for like 7 or 8 of those weeks. If she's able to articulate her case well, I could absolutely see her winning the game. I think it would just require the players to put their personal feelings towards her aside. I don't know how like emotional and personal this jury is going to be. But I will say, I feel like the first juror always sets the tone. That's why I'm really excited to get into Quinn's answers, because based on what he's thinking,
I agree with that. The first jury member, and I was worried for the contestants in the house right now, that if it was Angela, I feel like it would go a different way, the jury. But Quinn, I think, is a good first jury member. Honestly, I think that's a good thing for all the players. I think he's going to look at, okay, when we get down to final two, who has played the best game? And I think he's going to set that as the standard for how they pick their winner. Exactly.
I think he is very much going to try his hardest to be objective about all of this. And when I say objective, I know you can't be in that game, but just objective on like the limited information that he knows to be true about the game. And so I think that'll kind of set the tone moving forward. And I could see him pushing for Angela if Angela is able to make it to final two. So who knows? Maybe Angela has hope, but she would get she would absolutely get my vote. If I could choose a winner, it would either be Chelsea or Angela. Based on the game.
Chelsea gets my vote. At this point, if she's in the final 2 chairs today, it's Chelsea for me. That's the name on my key to win, BB26. And I do think it will be kind of, as a fan, a sad moment if she doesn't, because I think she has orchestrated so many things in this house, and Quinn gives her props. Let's do it. Let's get to his exit interview. And this first thing was that he had some disappointment and frustration with his exit, and the question that came in, and this is all a pool feed, so we submit a couple of questions, some other outlets submit them, and then they give us back all the responses, and that's what we're sharing with you here. But they ask, were you upset because you believe you had the votes to stay, or more of the fact that you're just out of the house? And here's how Quinn responded.
To my core, I am a competitive person, and post college soccer and just even indoor track, like not having the opportunity to compete in that way to where it was high stakes to me and it was the end of the world, like losing sucks, and it fills me with so much disappointment. I am someone who loves to win but hates to lose, and so it was certainly the way that the votes panned out, because I thought that I did a great job of painting a picture of my value to others. And for that to not be utilized in a strategic decision, that's of course frustrating, and something that like I'm going to roll my eyes at forever, oh my gosh, what are you guys doing? And that is something that like I did carry in the moment. I'm also someone who like, don't overstay your welcome. Being from the Midwest, it's hard to leave a party or a house, like get together or anything. It's hard to say goodbye. And so I wanted to make a point to get out of there. I was nervous that like, the only person I wanted to talk to was Leah. And I felt like that would be, even if I just looked at her, people would be like, well, she needs to go because she has Quinn's jury vote. I genuinely believe that like, no matter what I did in that situation, it wouldn't be enough. I didn't have anything clever to say. And so you might as well big dog dip out of the Big Brother house, I've been sitting on that like hidden immunity idol joke since the first time I was on the block by America's Hand. I had it in my pocket. I was going to make the joke, but I think I just got so flustered at the idea of like, declaring my love for Ice Spice that I just forgot. And I was disappointed that like I didn't use it during my speech, but I had a job to do, so let me clock in real quick to the BB factory and try to secure myself some safety. But yeah, I've been sitting on that bit for a hot minute now, and I didn't think of it like outside of the game, but inside the game, I noticed I had an extra friendship bracelet from my good friend Maya, and I had extra rings. And so I was like, let me just cook something up. And I'd argue my fake hidden immunity idol is better than some of the ones we see on the show. I think that I've spoken a lot on like the eviction of Joseph being like truly such a blunder. But in the interest of like sharing a different aspect of the game and like a strategic thought, maybe I go back in time, utilize the leverage that I had at the moment for Lisa and Angela, and I just put my foot down and say, no, we are not evicting Lisa. She's going to be put on the block next week, guaranteed. She'll go home. Angela is someone who needs to go home because she called me like an idiot and a narcissist. Or I don't think she called me an idiot at that point, but she did call me a narcissist. She did lash out at me in front of like people. Her antics at the time were unacceptable, and they low-key still are, but it's like, whatever. That was years ago at this point. And so I think like an interesting thought experiment would be, maybe had I slammed the brakes on like the Lisa eviction and got rid of Angela, maybe things would have been different, because is Tucker going to use the golden power of veto on Lisa in the same way that he would have Angela? I don't think so. And I think that it would have been like just a completely different game. And so if I could go back in time, I would have utilized my like influence or Quinfluence and kept Lisa because she wasn't going after me. she always would have been a house target. And at that time, my word meant something to people. And so the reason why I stayed silent on it was because I didn't want to, I feel like you have a finite amount of influence in the game. And by using it to save Lisa felt like something maybe not advantageous for me. And maybe if I did that, this game would have been cracked open in a completely different way. I genuinely believe that Chelsea is playing the most dynamic game of everyone, sometimes to the point where it's a little exhausting. You know, when she's talking to me, she's like, before the nominations, she's saying that she wants to keep me safe, but she's also making a point of like saying, you know, no hard definitives, whatever. And it's like, Chelsea, we don't have to speak in riddles. You're allowed to lie. And I'm worried that might cost her in the game of like just trying to stick to her word and speaking in a way where she's not committing either way. Maybe that was just in rooms that I was a part of. I am nervous that would impact her ability to win the game or just to make it far. But I think she is just playing a phenomenal game. I told her to her face that I think that she is like so similar to Danielle Reyes. And I do stand on that, you know. I stand on business, you know, in my belief of that, because she is such a dynamic person and so good at the game. Surprise-wise, I'm hoping that Leah, you know, hashtag shocks the nation here, pulls off like some crazy move and is able to find herself at the end, because if they can't look beyond their like personal feelings towards her inclusion in the game, I think that she is someone who could slip through the cracks and has the skills to survive. I think that there is a line drawn in the sand, whether people want to accept it or not. Shots are going to be taken, and I'm hoping that it's not at Leah. If this is written, you know, asterisk, rolling my eyes. Okay, dude, I get it. I put you on the block, whatever. I should have prioritized Rubina. On a personal level, that would have been great for me. I think she is a delightful person who, like, to her core is spreading, like, good wealth and warmth, and someone that I would just want to hang out with in real life. But strategically, Tucker was such a, like, dangerous person to, like, trust. And that's what that meant. Working with the Visionaries, working with Rubina, it meant that I had to work with Tucker, who was, like, foaming at the mouth to murder me in the game. And so it's like, I'm sorry that I chose Leah over Rubina, but is it that crazy logically to say that I don't trust Tucker to not put me on the block? Because I would put him on the block, absolutely. And then it's funny that, like, going into this, I recognize the irony of me during my pregame press saying that I would love to work with emotional players, because it's my belief that, like, if you can build a foundation, like your relationship, on something deeper than strategy, then that is something that will never break and something you can weaponize in the late game. That happened at my expense. I just wasn't as likable as, like, Rubina, and, like, the Visionaries weren't rocking with me like that. They were keeping me out of the loop, and it sucks. But it would have been nice, sure, to work with Rubina, but that meant working with Tucker, and he wanted too badly to get me out of the game. And it's not something I could risk. The alternative was, I feel like, working with the other side of the house, and that's what I did. And I think that that was the smart decision, even though I am out of the house right now. I would love to see someone like Chemo or Mackenzie follow me into the jury house, or even Angela. And here are the reasons why. Like, to see Mackenzie or Chemo join me in the jury house, that means there is something crazy going on in the game, and they are taking shots, and each side is battling for power to see who makes it out on the other end. And what a beautiful, like, season. And that would be interesting. To see Angela follow me into the jury house, that means that is still a possibility and something that could happen. And it opens the game for, like, way more crazy gameplay, way more devastating blindside, something that is so exciting, just because Angela did tank her game. Realistically, I think I'm going to see my final two Snoop member, that's Noots, for those watching at home. I think I will see Leah because people, I don't know what the issue is, just want to see her not in the house. And I think that it would be an easy decision to feed her to the Big Brother machine and, prioritize a moment of safety and security over the fear of taking crazy shots. And then a player like Leah or Angela who aren't a part of things to go further than you. I think that's what people are going to be afraid of, and they're going to prioritize the easy decision over the optimal decision. I would love to see what went into Joseph's eviction. I want to know so desperately if it was Chemo's speech that actually changed Mackenzie, and Chelsea blamed Leah, but Mackenzie said that it was the speech that changed her mind. And I am so curious if that is true. I just want to know. I would love to watch the veto, hide and go veto competition, just because I think that everyone is so hilarious. I want to see how my boy Cam was being portrayed in the show, because he was so funny, and I was just curious how his sense of humor would shine through in the actual production. There isn't a second of this show that I'm not excited to watch. The second I have access to Paramount Plus, I am going to clock in and I'm going to do my due diligence to make sure I'm up to speed on all things BB26. I am just so excited at the opportunity to watch the show, but I think the big ones are going to be Joseph's eviction and the hide and go veto. I'm pretty sure that I was named after Quinn, maybe not from Slider. It's not like my mom was like, I love this show and my son is going to continue the legacy. All right. I love it. This name rocks. I think that my mom heard the name Quinn from that show and thought to herself, what a sick, nasty name. My son is going to be so charming and cool and have awesome hair. I have to give him a name that matches. And Quinn is great. Did it soften the blow? Listen, I got the sense that Jerry thought I was disappointed to not meet Julie Chen Moonves in exchange for meeting him. It's my mindset that Julie and I are going to be besties after this, hang out recreationally. So it's I can look beyond that, meet my Kangaroo Jack is my third favorite movie. That's not a joke. Check my Letterboxd and you'll see that that's true. And so meeting him, I was so excited. I wanted to ask him if he can really beatbox like he did when he was driving the Jeep. I wanted to know if that was a thing that he had beforehand or something he had to learn for the role. I was so excited to meet him. I just couldn't believe it. And so I'm going to meet Julie on finale night. So this feels like a win-win, or a Quinn for those of you watching at home,
I thought it was really interesting how Quinn talks about his belief that Chelsea is playing the best game. Again, we just said the first juror kind of sets the tone. So maybe this will be a very pro-Chelsea jury. She also seems to just be likable on a personal level. I feel like she has everyone's respect. So that was interesting to me. I thought Quinn's answers in general were just very thoughtful, and I appreciated how he took his time to articulate himself and really fully explain his ideas. He didn't give us these cut and dry generic answers. So I really liked his exit interviews, or him responding to the pooled questions.
I agree.
What else?
I also thought that he had a fun joke. That thing that he said about he had the immunity or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's trying to leverage himself onto Survivor.
Right. Jeff.
Yeah. So somebody give him a call though. I'd watch him on another show for sure.
Absolutely.
If he did Amazing Race though, who would be his teammate? Would they? Because Leah does seem to be. I think he's worn her down. She friend zoned him, and then now maybe it's so when they get out of the house, I think it'll be interesting to see what becomes of this, or if she ends up in the jury house and they have a few weeks without cameras on them 24/7. What could blossom? I don't know.
I think it would be cool to see him and Tucker on the Amazing Race, since they had their rivalry.
That would be a really, really fun thing to watch. Great TV, but also I think they might implode I don't know.
It's possible, but again, great TV.
yeah. Tucker, amazing TV. I do like Quinn's sense of humor, where he talked about a Quinn instead of a win-win. He's got great game awareness. He did have some strategic regrets, and I think this was something that really stood out to me, where he said, we should have pushed harder to keep Lisa the week Lisa was booted, and instead flipped it and been able to get Angela out of the house. He should have pushed for Angela to go. He's like, Lisa would have been gone in another week or a few weeks from there. I don't disagree with that. I think that would have changed a lot of the dynamics in the house, and obviously wouldn't have put Angela in this position that she's in right now, where she could be a contender. So I thought that was a really interesting thing, and sort of played it out in my mind about how I think amazing and different this game might look. I also don't know that would have led to Tucker going out as soon. I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah, Big Brother, as you know, is largely a game of what ifs for people that have played the game.
Yes.
You can't help it. You can't help but wonder to yourself, if I had done this, if I had this conversation, would I have won? And the truth is, he'll never know. I'll never know. You'll never know.
No.
Who knows? However,
we can have Ainsley run a simulation, though, and rerun BB26 through the AI simulator, and then we'll see what the season look like.
Right. That's actually a good idea. But
let's see.
I was going to say, I thought it was so fascinating how Quinn threw it all the way back to week 2, because that feels like a totally different game. That feels like a totally different year. That was 7 weeks ago, I think.
It's an eternity in Big Brother life.
What 100,000%, because you and I both know each week feels like a month. In some cases, it feels like a couple months. So by the time you get out of the house 13 weeks later, you feel like you have truly lived a year and a half. It's crazy. That game messes with your mind, people. But
sure does.
Just him throwing it all the way back to Lisa. If they had kept Lisa and gotten rid of Angela, then I don't think other people would have used the veto on someone else in the house in the same way that they kept saving Angela. Angela was like a seat warmer, and then it was kind of just obligatory that she would be taken off the block by the end of the week for a backdoor. But like, had they not had Angela there, I don't know if Lisa would have kind of filled the same niche. Also, had Quinn just not put up Cedric, and Cedric had stayed in the house that week, I think the game at that point probably becomes a steamroll of the Pentagon. So while I was very sad to see Cedric go, at least that kind of opened up the door to even more unpredictability, along with the AI arena twist, because this season, which I appreciate, is just not one where you can accurately predict the outcomes based on the data you've collected about this game for 25 seasons prior. None of my predictions have come true. I don't think anyone's predictions have come true. So that's something that I appreciate as a viewer, and I think Cedric going home needed to happen. But for Quinn's game, I think getting rid of Angela, who had put this target on Quinn's back, I think keeping Cedric in the house, that would have changed things for him, and that would have allowed him to kind of maintain his footing. And also, he wouldn't have soured his relationship with Tucker. Because remember, something had happened where Tucker used the veto on Angela, and oh, wait a second. No, Cedric was supposed to nominate Quinn in her place, but then I think Cedric ended up nominating someone else and kept it safe, and then Kenny went home that week. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But anyway.
Needless to say, the relationship Tucker and Quinn have could have been different, and they may have been working together more had things been different. And I think that's, like you're saying, we all do it. We go, well, if this week I had done this different, maybe I wouldn't be final 3. I would have been final 2. Maybe I would have won, all of those things. But this is the way the game happened, and I think those are the things that where as Quinn being a strategic player and a student of the game, I wanted to see him think those things through, and that's where it went sideways for his game and why he's on the jury and not still in that house. But I do think that some of his really hard play at the beginning and setting up a million alliances, or at least being part of a million of them if he wasn't the person that started it, I think that did in the end really hurt him. Just as someone looking at the game, I think there were just too many people that he had made commitments to, and then they all start realizing, oh, but he's committed to this alliance and this other alliance, and he's part of it. And then they go, he's not committed to me. He's not committed to any of us, and that hurts you.
He lost all his credibility in that game, and your word is everything.
It is. I think he's probably going to be surprised this week because he thought second into the jury house would be Leah, but little spoiler here, as we said, we're going to get to at the end. She's the HOH.
She is. I know.
And so
wait, and
Leah's
can I point out?
Not going in second to jury. Yeah.
Yay. No, I'm excited because I think it was about time for Leah to win something so that people will start having conversations with her, like game-related conversations. Where how many weeks into this game, and Leah has never been part of an alliance, with the exception of like her little flirt man's, no man's situation with Quinn. So I'm hoping that this will kind of give her the leverage that she needs to like take footing within the game. And she is also the first woman to have won both an HOH and a veto, as well as Angela, because Angela's won an HOH and she's won a veto. Spoiler alert. So those two are the first women to do both since season 23. Isn't that crazy?
Okay. Yes. And it does build the resume. And I think 2 weeks ago, people looked at Leah and they said, well, wait, was she still in the house? What is she doing? And then now it's like, okay, she hasn't ever been nominated. Now we've got the HOH. Now add that to a veto. Okay, there's something building here. And she's somebody who is playing not a low-key game, because she is, it has been lower key than some other people who are just bigger, louder, making more noise. And I'm looking at you, Angela, but she's still there. Looking at you, Tucker, when he's out, and even Quinn. And so now some of these players who have been quiet and just wrote it in, and they're like, don't make any waves. Let everybody take care of these bigger targets. And now she goes, this is the time I need to get in it. And she is a player to watch. I mean, I think Mackenzie too. I think Leah and Mackenzie right now are in a really good position, except I don't know who they're really, really tied to. And I do think Leah and Angela are probably pretty close based on what I'm seeing in the conversations that people are having in the house. But I don't know who she would really say she is loyal to in the Big Brother 26 house. And I'm talking loyalty from Leah. I don't know where her alliance or her allegiance stands with any of the remaining players.
Yeah, I sort of see the power structure of this house being Rubina, T-Core, Chemo. They're obviously a very tight trio. And then I see like Chelsea and Cam over here. And I know Mackenzie has like a close personal relationship to Cam. I think Mackenzie and Chelsea are good. So I kind of see those three as being a group. And then I see Leah and Angela sort of being these free agents in the middle. And if you have these like two trios taking shots at each other, that's not the worst thing in the world for you to just be sitting pretty in the middle. Although I do wonder if she takes out Rubina, Chemo, T-Core this week, and then there are only two people left from that trio. And then you have her and Angela, and Leah's won at this point 2 vetoes, 1 HOH. Angela's won 2 HOHs, 1 veto. And between Rubina, Chemo, and T-Core, 1 HOH, 2 AI arenas, are MJ, Chelsea, and Cam now going to be looking at Leah and Angela as the bigger targets? I don't know. So maybe actually for Leah, it makes more sense to take out either Chelsea Cam or Mackenzie. And if she wanted to take out Cam, she could play it off like, I really want to see all women in the final six. Chemo's already up on the block. I'm going to take Rubina down. I'm going to put Cam up. And that way we guarantee that a man will go home this week. And I don't think anyone would necessarily fault her for that. So maybe she could play that angle. But I also just think that one of the trio needs to go home so that they don't control all of the votes moving forward. So it's either way, this week is going to benefit Leah at the very least, because now she is being included in conversations.
Yeah, I do agree. And I don't know the latest spoilers about, you were talking about Angela winning veto. Saving herself. What have the nominations happened yet? Do we know who's up now with Chemo and
so it's Chemo and Rubina.
Rubina. I mean, sorry. Yeah. Chemo and Rubina, which is what I thought that it was either Tikor or Rubina is going to sit next to Chemo, which is why I felt like that trio is broken up. And with no AI Arena, one will go home. Okay.
Well, but there are 2 vetoes in play. So Leah has to use her veto.
Oh, yes.
First.
And so, okay.
Yeah. And then Angela uses hers second.
Okay. And so do we know how both work?
Well, okay. There was a similar thing on my season. I want to say it was week 6, the week that Brittany went home. But I don't think the veto ended up getting used that week. So we never got to see it play out. But it's my understanding that Leah will have to use her veto first, and then Angela will use hers. But regardless, 2 vetoes are in play. And so maybe Rubina and Chemo will both be off the block, and maybe Leah will decide to nominate Chelsea and Cam. Or I don't really see her nominating MJ, because I think her and MJ have been like solid throughout this entire game. And then Angela, of course, is safe. So we may be looking at Chelsea and Cam nominations come the end of the week. It is so hard to say because both people can get taken off the block.
All right. Yeah, it's kind of mind blowing here. And I just want to make sure that I didn't miss it all, but the double power of veto and all of these things that are happening, and trying to read through what we don't see on the feeds and understand. Okay. It's a lot to take in. Obviously, Thursday's going to be a big pivotal night in how the house dynamics are shaped up going into that next week. And I think, though, for players not in that strong threesome, I think really their best move is to get rid of the big power group, the Tikor, Chemo, Rubina, someone from that group. I think that makes more sense for the other remaining players. But I don't know how Angela in Leah's ear and what Angela does and how all of these things may shape the game. I hope Chelsea's not in trouble.
And that's another thing I could potentially. Also, fun fact, last night I was with Mimi from BB25 and Taylor Hale, the winner of BB24. We got dinner and we were, of course, chit-chatting about the game and our predictions. And we do fear that maybe Chelsea and Tikor will even be put up come the end of the week, because Chelsea's kind of the ringleader on one side, Tikor is kind of the ringleader on the other side. Let those 2 sides battle it out if I'm Leah. So that's what we're kind of thinking. We could also see Cam and Chemo. We could see Chelsea and Chemo. Or maybe Leah and Angela will just leave nominations the same so they can send Chemo to jury. We'll see. But I'm
a lot still to happen here.
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely a big week. And there's always that element of expect the unexpected that happens for these house guests. And that includes Julie Chen being out on Thursday night's live show for Quinn's eviction. So we had Jerry O'Connell, and Quinn had some interesting things to say about, he's a huge Jerry O'Connell fan. I thought that was so fun. And that maybe his name came from a Jerry O'Connell movie.
Yeah.
So he didn't fully confirm that Sliders is where he got his name, but his parents liked the movie. And so I was like, okay, I got to admit, never seen Sliders. Also haven't seen Quinn's third favorite movie, Kangaroo Jack. It's like, okay, I've learned an awful lot about you, Justin, that's your third favorite movie of all time.
I too have never seen it. I've never seen a Jerry O'Connell movie, but I know that Jerry O'Connell is a huge fan of The Real Housewives. And you know, he's a huge fan of Big Brother.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think he and I would get along swimmingly.
Well, any final thoughts here about Quinn and what's ahead for BB26 and how he runs now his jury house? I think he gets to call it his, since he's the first. He picks his bedroom. He sets it up the way he wants it.
I'm so curious as to where they're staying. I don't know if they're going to be in the same house that we were. I don't think BB25 had the same jury house, but that's neither here nor there.
Top secret location,
I know,
unknown to any fans.
Yeah, no, I will not be sharing it. Don't worry. I'm like, oh, it's 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Wallaby. Wait, no. What was I gonna say? Yeah, it was a pleasure watching Quinn game this season. He played hard. I appreciate the fact that he wasn't reserved. He wasn't shy. He went for it. As a super fan, I know how just fulfilling and special it is to have that kind of opportunity. And so I hope when he looks back on it, he just reflects on the whole experience with like an air of fondness and appreciation. He played well. So shout out to Quinn. In terms of what I see lying ahead for BB26, I have no idea, because this season is so unpredictable. I still I love the fact that we're less than 4 weeks out from finale and I still have no idea who's going to win. I feel like for BB23, it was quite clear that Xavier was going to win less than halfway into the game. Even for BB25, there came a certain point where we were all like, okay, Jag or Matt is winning this whole thing. So yeah, I love that about this season. My new winner pick since Joseph went home is Mackenzie. I think we might be sleeping on Mackenzie. And I was talking to, it might have been Kenny. It might have been Kenny. I think Kenny might be in agreement on that. So we'll see.
Watch Mackenzie. Okay.
I think Mackenzie's one to watch. And I think that Chelsea, unfortunately, just based on what I know about this game, will maybe go out in like 5th or 6th. I sort of see her being like a double eviction type of boot.
Right. If she doesn't win that second HOH, the house guests say, this is the time to get her out. Obviously,
I think so.
Everything has to come together. She doesn't win HOH. She doesn't win veto, or and is not saved, or they backdoor somehow. But I don't disagree that I think Chelsea's in trouble. And the reason I say that is Quinn made mention of Chelsea. We've heard it house guest after house guest after house guest. Who's playing a good game? Chelsea. That becomes a theme. And if they know it the moment they step out of the house, they know it while they're in there.
Yeah.
And I do think that will become something that is a revelation and will make Chelsea's game harder. But there's next week's HOH. There's always a veto. There's always a way that Chelsea can stay in this. But she, I think, really needs to get in Leah's ear and make sure that threesome of T-Core, Rubina, Chemo gets broken up. Otherwise, Chelsea I think is going to quickly be a target for them.
Absolutely.
Why not? That's that's your biggest threat right now in the game, seemingly.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was going to say one last thing about Chelsea.
I mean, she's amazing. Yeah,
she's amazing. But I have said this before: the best player never wins. I think you can look at any season, maybe with the exception of like season 10, Dan Gheesling, and I think that statement would hold to be true. I just think that
and you make that argument even with season 2 and Dr. Will's victory. I mean, I think he was one of the most solid players in that house.
You're right. You are right. Season 2, season 10, and season 16, I'd say, are
with a few exceptions. I think you're saying, yes. But a lot of times you look and you go, some other player really paved the way for the person who may have ended up in the winner's chair. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, well, yes, but also Big Brother is just a game about balance. And this might sound reductionist to say, but it's almost like a game of mediocrity. Like you want to be smart, you can't be too smart. You want to be athletic, you can't be
really
too
funny.
athletic. And I've said this before to winners of the game. Like I feel so comfortable saying this, and I don't think it's mean. Hopefully people don't take this as mean. But it's all about like balancing your perception and your value. You have to be valuable, but you can't be too valuable. You have to be you have to have some agency, but you can't be too powerful. Otherwise you get cut.
Yeah,
and
you have
that's
to have
why
some comp wins, but not too many.
Too many.
You have to have people like you, but not more than other people.
Exactly.
You're right. It is. It's like playing the median in this game, the averages. Yeah. You have to be the best at being just slightly above mediocre.
Yes. Okay. And I say that with a few exceptions.
Because, it sounds terrible, but it's like, that is a really interesting observation looking at these 26 seasons and some celebrity seasons and over the OTT season, which I watch.
Yeah. Again, with a few exceptions. And then Taylor's story was obviously very, very different. I don't think she won the game because she was the best at being mediocre. She had a great story. Like you said, Dr. Will, Dan Gheesling, Derek Levasseur. I'm sure we can come up with a few exceptions, but for the most part, I do think it's about who can balance their game the best. And the best player can't do that. So that's why I see Chelsea being in trouble.
Okay, and on that, I think that's a great way to end it. I hope not. I hope.
I know. I'm rooting for Chelsea
so much this season.
Yeah. Yes. No, that's true. That's true. We honestly cannot accurately predict anything when it comes to these batch of players because they're kind of nuts and there is no blueprint and I love it. I don't know if it's because all of them are with so much love.
BB26 cast.
Yeah, no, I love them. I'm so excited to meet them. I don't know if it's because a lot of them are recruits and so they just don't have a blueprint. I also love the fact that when they walked in, not every single one of them was like, oh, I want to be like Derek Levasseur from BB16. Because we just see the same thing over and over again when people try to emulate the way that Derek played and the bomb squad and like the onion strategy. So this season has been so refreshing. I love it. It's my favorite modern season of Big Brother. And I say that as someone who has been on a modern season of Big Brother. I'm enjoying this season more than I enjoyed my own. So just props to everyone.
Kudos, team.
Yeah.
Oh, and on that, Hannah, thank you for your time today. Great insight. I can't wait till we do this again.
Yeah, same here. Bye, Jason.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hope you had a laugh, and we appreciate you checking out the Secret Alliance podcast. Make sure you tell someone who loves Big Brother all about us. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, watch some more from BB26 and other previous seasons, and leave us your comments. Thanks.